Welcome to People Are Everything, the show where I ask my guests, who are the 5 people that have shaped the person you are? And today I have Matt Burton. I'm quite excited about this one. It's a very thoughtful conversation. We get into lots of subjects. We get quite deep, actually. And there's much wisdom here with Matt. And he's someone I think of great sincerity. He's dedicated his whole life into the recruitment space. He believes strongly that the CV is dead, and you'll come to hear why in a moment. He's a huge fan of Chicago, almost to the point of obsession. And what else does he do? Oh, he loves his model making. So there's a lot here. He's a very interesting guy. He's led a wonderful life till now, and he's got many more aspirations to still achieve. And he's just got a lovely way about him. So please sit back and enjoy Matt Burton. Good morning, Matt. How are you? Welcome to People Are Everything.
Morning, Julia. Yeah, well, thank you. You?
I'm all right, but I am going to pre-warn you that there will be coughing throughout this whole thing.
I love how the fact we've just ignored the last 4 minutes whilst you've been trying to sort out the technology whilst coughing.
Yeah, well, I'm a good multitasker.
You are, yes.
Yeah. So I've been coughing and doing tech all at once, and I know who gave me this cough. She was sat in. If you're listening and you flew to Boston about 14 days ago, and you sat in the row behind me, you know who you are. You know who you are, and I'm coming for you. It was such one of those classic moments, Matt, where I thought I could just get up and move because there was plenty of space on the plane. But I thought, oh no, I did that British thing of, I don't want to offend her. I don't want to make her feel bad that she's got a cough.
It's a solid 9 hours of coughing to put up with.
It was a solid 9 hours, and I've now got a cough.
Yeah.
So next time, no more British Reserve, Matt. I'm getting up and moving.
Just move. Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Anyway, I love to start the podcast with my ailments.
Yeah.
How are you? And I know you had a bit of a rush around this morning, didn't you? So I do.
Oh, I know. I don't think I can feel too bad about it. It's being a parent, isn't it? So having to get kids dressed, fed, read book to school, and then through about 16 different sets of temporary traffic lights to get home in time for the podcast. But no, all good.
Oh, well, listen, who doesn't love a temporary traffic light? I can't even get out my front driveway. They may as well have a traffic light in my driveway. Anyway, it's great to see you. And
you too.
I love to start my podcast with just kind of the how we are connected. And yours is a bit random, actually. I met you through a lady called Asha. And I met Asha at an event, like some sort of networking event. And rarely do those things turn into anything, I'll be honest. I go to a fair few of them for my day job, but it's like, Asha and I connected and we talked, and then she put me in touch with you, and here we are. So
yeah,
that's what sometimes.
It does. Asha has a habit of whenever she's trying to fill a gap in conversation, who can I talk about? Matt Burton, which has worked really well at times, as in demonstrated here, but can at times also not work quite so well. But yeah, that's how we met.
Well, I'm very excited about this conversation because you are somebody who combines with 2 of my favorite subjects. One is people and one is tech. So obviously the title of my podcast is People Are Everything. So I'm going to be deeply interested in how you approach your core business, which is recruitment. We'll get into all of that in a second, but I'm excited about this because I love how you approach it. I love how you take the latest in technology, particularly in AI, and humanize that for the kind of what we need for recruitment, really, which is a deeply human experience, because at the end of the day, it's human beings at the end of that process. So I love what you're doing. I really want to get into it. Before we do, why don't you do a full kind of, hello, this is me, Matt, this is what I'm all about, and then we can get into it.
Oh, God. So here's the ego part. Is this?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Where do I start? Veteran of the state of recruitment industry. I'm actually not in recruitment now, even though I work on the peripheral. I think I may have told you the first time we spoke that my claim to fame, amongst some other dubious ones, is that I was the lowest paid Oxford graduate, I think, in history. pound for pound.
I know. I remember you telling me that was super fun.
So graduated from Oxford with classics. Didn't do the usual thing, which apparently would have been the sensible thing, and that was go down to London, go into fund managers, investment banks, become a lawyer. No, I decided to come back up north and get into recruitment, which back then was as close to car sales and state agency as you could get as the top 3 careers to do with you don't want to enjoy your life. And joined a very small local business, stayed with them for a number of years, went to a larger global business and just had enough and set up on my own in 2007. So I've been in recruitment for 28 years, then decided last year for a number of reasons, some of which I won't go into, that I needed out. And now I'm doing what I'm passionate about, which is reinventing the recruitment industry amongst other industries, because AI is going to do this anyway. And what I've been working on over the last year or so is creating almost it's native AI, but it's about allowing the human to be better rather than human replaced by process. And so, because I've had almost 30 years in the industry, I'm well aware that it's one of the least productive sectors out there.
No, and I love that. But well, two things. Firstly, yes, I do remember you telling me about that, the lowest paid Oxford graduate. And I remember being intimidated by you having read classics, so I didn't even know what that was. Actually, what is not? I can't remember.
It's not done me any good over the years. I think I've used it once as a phone a friend on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, when the question was, what does an ichthyologist study? And it was fish. So classics for me was Latin, Greek, and ancient history with a bit of philosophy chucked in.
Oh, sounds very big brain stuff. So I'll be on my best behavior today, or my best form. So, I mean, okay, so let's get into before we get into your 5, I do want to know about how you are blending AI with the people bit, because there's a guy I know in life called Jasper Reed, and he wrote this piece on LinkedIn recently about how the CV is the most outdated, outmoded, piece of paper in the world. And we all know that. I mean, I recruit people, and the CV really doesn't give you any picture at all. And with AI sort of selecting, or you get the sense that people select through AI, but these big companies like Indeed and places like that, you get a sense that there's a lot of filtering of CVs through sort of buzzwords and keywords and things like that.
It's a pure skill search. So that's the issue I have, or have had, with AI and automation. If you automate a process that is already flawed, you only make the problem bigger. Yeah. And so what you'll see in the recruitment industry in particular is the biases towards how can I get to a CV I can send quicker than anybody else, because it's about protectionism. How can I protect a potential fee? That's not answering the problem. The problem isn't about getting to an averagely selected shortlist quickly. It's how do I make sure the shortlist is qualitatively selected, not skill or quantitatively selected. So what I've realized over the years is that whatever's in here is what helps you make a decision whether you're a hiring manager or recruiter, what good or great looks like. And it's not about the job somebody's done. It's about the job they might do in 6 months or 6 years for the business. It might be to do with how they will demonstrate the right leadership skills. And we live in a world nowadays where everything's digitally footprinted. And because of big data, because of digital footprints, there is an enormous amount of, I hate to use the word data, but it is data, whether it's personality driven, behavioral driven, skill driven, career driven. There is data out there because we live in this kind of socially vibrant world. And so I built this kind of, I find it difficult to turn a laptop on and keep it going. But I've got some very good people around me. Built this native AI model, which throws itself into predicting everything that you can imagine about an outcome. So it doesn't just look for a CV skill match. It's looking for demonstrable behaviors. It's looking for linking. If somebody's worked at X company and worked there for a certain period, that company at that time was very much focused around growth, as opposed to maybe the company was going through difficult periods. Yeah. And so it's able to knit together a little bit like you and I would do when we're hiring, is thinking about that person's career. How does it overlap with that, that thing that happened in life? Is it that they worked in a business at a time where it was scaling very quickly, so their skill set might look very different to if they joined 6-12 months ago? So you're knitting all this together in the landscape. That's what AI does now. So it creates a broader qualitative scene to be able to make decisions upon.
I love that. And I love, well, the extra bit, the other bit to that is who the person is. And just for fun, in preparation for today, and, possibly I'm a massive narcissist, but no, genuinely, I was just preparing for this. I decided to type into AI, tell me more about Julia Duthie, who she is and how she is, right? Because the bit I wanted to talk to you about was, how do you capture through technology how someone is and who they are? And I'm pleased to I know it's very sycophantic AI, but I'm pleased to report I came across quite well. And you're right, it drew from everything I've ever done in my digital imprint, which is rather scary for anybody out there misbehaving.
But Julia, not even digital. So I did the same as you. When I was looking at setting this up, I had to be convinced, because again, I've been very anti-AI, partly because I didn't know what it meant. And I got them to do it on me. It was picking, and it was eerie. It was like staring into a mirror. Yeah. But it wasn't one-sided. It wasn't trying to feed my ego. It was also picking out, real truths about where things had gone wrong. But it also picked out an article that was written about me 25 years ago that wasn't digital press. It was a Northwest Business Insider magazine article. And it picked that out. And it must have been because at some point, somebody has mentioned, Matt Burton is big in this article. Fascinating. And I think this is the bit there that's different. It's not just about scraping data, it's the ability to interpret. Yeah. And I think this is where contextually, this is where the human brain, I think, probably needs to accept that, our brains are only as good as what goes in. Mm. And so we make decisions, and fundamentally critical life decisions based on experiences and what goes in here. Now, why is that any different to artificial intelligence? Except it can do it a hell of a lot quicker and draw upon millions more bits of data than one's human brain can manage at a given point in time. I've become a firm believer, not least because I see the success of it. I see how it's changing now. Here's the difference. I don't want this to replace people. I want people to become better at the key part, which is being that relationship stakeholder manager and caring about the results rather than getting to the results as quickly as humanly possible.
Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, we will get into the 5. Don't worry, Matt. I always I'm getting some feedback at the moment. Some people love this bit and go, "Oh yeah, but you take a while to get into the 5." And I go, "I know, because I'm usually so interested in the person right in front of me, and I want to hear about them first before we go into the 5." And that's true for you, which is, and the subject. I love the subjects that I get to cover when I meet people, and this subject fascinates me because, it is about whole person understanding. It's all about matching opportunity with the right person, giving the recruiter, like you say, a really qualitative shortlist that says we've done all this background work, not just on, CV checking, but whole person kind of identification. And it also is a sort of sobering thought for those that are, complete digital natives now who've, have grown up with all of this stuff. It's still a bit antiquated. Yeah. I'm from a certain era. And, I like to think I've kept up. I do love tech. I keep up with the latest tech. But generally speaking, my people, my age group don't. But the digital natives, they really do. And I think they inherently know now that they leave, a digital imprint wherever they go. And I think that's a good thing. In some ways, it means people are very circumspect about what they present online. I do wonder sometimes if it does sort of limit people's self-expression, and how I wouldn't want everybody to be so curated, because one day they might need to have a job and the detail is going to be there. So that kind of thing worries me a bit. But generally, a bit like Google Maps, I don't love it because it follows me everywhere, but I love it because I can't get anywhere without it.
Sorry, that's a great analogy. Google Maps don't lie, but you're still going to drive the car to get those. Well, for now. And I think I was just reflecting then as you're talking. I think my takeaway on that is, you can do so much with AI, but you can't take away that there's still a human being involved.
Absolutely, 100%.
That is where, and that is why all it's doing is allowing you to not rule people out because they're not digitally savvy. They don't stick themselves up as a bright light on LinkedIn. They're not applying for every single job on every expensive job board. So it's picking out those people who are a bit more private. They get given the opportunity that the others don't. That's the benefit of this.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I'm a big fan. I'm no Luddite, as they say. I do love all this stuff. And I still, obviously, again, people are everything. I still believe that until we stop being the consumers of all things, and robots completely take over the world, we are the center of all this activity. AI is there to help us at this stage of life. Anyway, so that's enough about that. My next thing I love to ask my guests is how have they found the process of choosing their 5? Because I always find this very fascinating. How was it for you, Matt?
It was not good, I have to say. Yeah. Ouch. So, no, I don't mean not negative towards it. It was more, I think I realized just how much time I've wasted over the years listening to people. I started first thinking about it a couple of weeks about who those people would be. And I think initially my reaction was, I'm bound to talk about the usual names, big hitters, those business leaders, celebrity investors, titans of the industry, whatever they label themselves as. And to be fair, I could probably fill, 10 podcasts telling you stories that can make a movie one day about all these people. Yeah. And I've sat across the table over the years from people with more money, more power, loud voices. I don't think there's a single one of those people that would be in my 5, because what they are essentially is glossy versions of a different truth now for me. And what I've learned, particularly over the last 5 years, is the people who really inspired me are the ones that change how I think. They shape me from a behavioral thought perspective. Not I want to have what you've got, or I like the title you have. So it's the ones who've inspired me are actually the ones who've shown me how to behave when no one's watching. I think that's probably my takeaway from this.
Oh, I love that. People who influence me for how I behave when no one's watching. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that approach. Yeah. Well, I'm fascinated now. Then come on. Who's number 1? Let's get into it.
So who's number 1? I'm going to be personal for a second. So this is a chap, my uncle-in-law, Andy. I only got to know him a few years ago. So he's my uncle-in-law. My wife, Bobby, introduced me to him, say, probably 18 months, 2 years ago. He's one of those people you can't do justice to in just a few minutes, but here's a few highlights. He turned 60 last year. One of the most loyal, patriotic men I've ever met. So he joined the Royal Navy as a lad, barely out of school, ended up serving the Falklands War. I don't need to tell, I'm sure, the audience what that war was like. It shaped a generation of men like Andy. They were young, 19, 20, 21 years old, chucked out into the South Atlantic, 1,000 miles from home. And it was a war that no one saw coming. So there was no preparation for this. And it was pretty brutal. Came back and none of this, didn't have counselling, decompression trips. Basically, I think back then they had a pint to pat on the back and told to get on with life, and they did. But the difference with Andy is that his father, he was very close, they're very close family, my wife's family. Andy's father passed away, in fact, he's got to be 20-something years ago, but he moved in with his mum, who my wife's family called Nana. And he made a promise to his father, I will look after the family as if it was you. And he did, literally, no fuss, complete loyalty. 20 years took his life. He never had a wife, long-term relationship. I think his longest relationship, and only relationship, was with Nottingham Forest Football Club. Seriously, not been on a plane since the war, hadn't been abroad, never drunk red wine. So anyway, I'll tell you the story because it goes somewhere quite lovely, but sad in the end. So turned 60, came over for Christmas dinner. year before last. I think we were on our 5th or 6th bottle of red wine. And I decided, Andy, you're coming to US with us next year, New York and Nashville. And because we were going there anyway with Bobby's mum and dad. So this is a guy who's not been on a plane since the Falklands, not been abroad. There was so many things I remember from that trip, but the one thing that sticks in my head was every night, there's me as a young whippersnapper of a 50-year-old, going to bed at 10 o'clock after a long day in New York City. Following morning, we meet for breakfast, and he would look a bit weary. Every night, without exception, he would say goodnight to us. He would go down to a local Irish bar, and he would sit there chatting with an ex-NYPD officer called Tracy every single night. It was just amazing. And I think he sadly passed away from a very short illness a couple of months ago. He got cancer. It happened. It's unfortunately one of those cancers that spread incredibly quickly. But what it taught me is, for 30 years, I've been running like a hamster on a wheel, successful most of that time, but never really stopped to go, is this still me? And what he taught me is you can reinvent yourself at any point. It took him until he was 60 to decide, you know what? I've lived this life, but I'm going to go and enjoy it and make the most of it. And I have to say, that has inspired me more than anything to, I remember the last time I saw him before he passed away was 48 hours before he died. And I was wearing a suit because I'd been in a meeting. And I walked in to see him, just popped in because it was about half an hour away. And he goes, bloody hell, Matt. I thought that was a doctor coming to pull the plug, even the suit. Just had the incredible sense of humor. But as I say, he knew he could give himself permission to change. He did change. His duty was done. And I see that a little bit in myself now. It's not duty, but I've spent 30 years doing it a certain way. It's now my time to shine. And he very much inspired me to do that.
Oh, wonderful. And that's such a lovely story, and obviously very, I don't know, I a mixture of sadness when you told me that, but at the same time, joy that he did get to, at least for a short period of time, feel that sort of freedom, if you like, for not having to serve. Because it feels to me like he's just served and served and served.
Served all his life. Yeah.
Yeah. And for he just wanted to go and do his thing for a bit. That totally shines through. And I can see why that would resonate with you, with your, like you say, 30 years of doing a certain thing in a certain way. But now this is so, can you give me examples then of where that message or that kind of learning from Andy you've directly applied now since you've come to this realization that you weren't wearing the right suit, if you like, back then?
Yes. Yeah. I think I've, for the best part of 30 years, I've, without exception, almost certainly put everybody else first at stuffing. So whether it's investors, whether it's employees, clients, the same. And I'm not sure I've ever taken a step back to go, is this really the right way to do it? Now, that's not to say I think now the answer is pull myself first. It's not a go from altruism to, egotism. This is me being able to go, I don't need to just pedal the wheel on the same bike. Yeah. And actually, if I believe there is something that is the right thing to do now because it's the way it's going, and instead of having to just please other people, I'm now able to take a step back. I don't have to suck in huge amounts of, 7-figure profit numbers to support a huge ecosystem of people. I'm doing it because it's something I'm fiercely passionate about, and I'm putting my time and effort into it.
Do you not find that's an age thing as well, though, Matt? I mean, I know it sounds obvious. It's an age thing because we get wiser as we get older, but I do think there's a certain stage of life where we're kind of our brains shift. I think there's some science in this as well, that our brains change as we get to a certain age, and we want to make impact and use our wisdom as opposed to just like run like crazy and hope for the best. So
yeah,
do you agree with that?
I agree entirely with the logic. Disagree with the practicality of it, because half the problem with our society is that there's an expectation, and the expectation is, yes, fine, taking your point, age should make me wiser, but it doesn't make me any less dependable to other people. True. Everyone's needed me to carry on pedaling, and a little bit like Andy, it took for him, unfortunately, it took the passing of his mother to say, I can, I know I've been doing the same thing for best part of 40 years, either serving the Navy or serving my duty as a family man, but I can pivot. I can move, I can shift, I can go and enjoy it. And he did. Yeah. And it's a little bit like, from my perspective now, I'm seeing an opportunity to go, no, it's taken a few difficult moments over the last 3 or 4 years, a few economic moments, but actually I can shift from having to do with everybody else to go, I've got this as my focus now.
Well, can we get into, and we're getting into number 2 in a moment, but can we get into something that I know is a kind of not difficult subject, but certainly a nuanced subject, which is this idea of male freedom generally. Because I have a son, and I look at him, and he's of that generation where I think he might reinvent himself several times over. He seems to be that type. But generally, if you think about the average male in this world, with all the sort of earning responsibilities and providing responsibilities, we'd be very traditional just for a minute. I mean, I'm far from that person. Yeah. But let's just, for the purpose of the conversation, very few men, I believe, and I'd love to, if there's a study out there, I'd love to hear it, read it, which is that I think very few men think that they can reinvent themselves and just stop doing the thing that they've been expected to do and conditioned to do since the moment they were educated.
I think that's the key. Conditioned to do. Yeah. I'm not sure the expectation is. Certainly, the expectation is not that they should do anymore, but there's no obvious. If you've been conditioned a certain way, it's not like you can read a book. I mean, you can read a book that tells you you can.
But it's people you feel it.
It's yes. And sometimes it just takes that moment, that trigger. And I think I've had half a dozen of those triggers over the last 4 or 5 years to go, I don't need to anymore. And actually, people who still expect it from me are not the right people to be around me, which is why it was probably so difficult to come up with 5 people.
Yeah, but I think that once you've alive to the idea, you know who to avoid and who to spend time with. So that's awareness is 9/10 of it, isn't it? Okay, well, no, I love that, and I unfortunately, as is often the case, sometimes it does take a close friend or family member to die for us to wake up a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to get into I've talked about my sort of epiphany that when my dad died, but it's like it's such a poignant moment. I think mortality, when you actually see it close hand, and particularly if that person's a similar age to you, is it's that classic wake up call, isn't it? That says, I really need to evaluate my life, and it sounds like you've done that. So, and Andy sounds like an absolute legend. I think, So I'm glad he got the number 1 spot. All right, are you happy to move on to number 2?
I'm indeed. So,
all right,
number 2, Mark Harmon, the actor who played Gibbs in NCIS. I know that must sound really odd to hear. So there is a reason for that, by the way. There is a very good reason for this. Yeah. So there came a point about 20 years ago. Thank you. Came a point about 20 years ago where somewhere between kind of flying off somewhere, being on a train, too much red wine. But I realized that actually I needed something other than kind of work, family, football, or alcohol, to keep me sane. This is part of the issue with my brain, Julia. It doesn't have an off switch, so I needed something that I can just like shut the world out a little bit. And that came through watching an episode of NCIS and then watching NCIS all the way through. And it was because there was a man building a boat. And it was...
What is NCIS, firstly?
NCIS is an American crime drama about naval criminal intelligence. And the character played by Mark Harmon is Leroy Jethro Gibbs.
Mm-hmm.
And he, this guy the character had a very difficult job. He was literally having to chase bad guys the entire time. But then when he was down in his basement, he'd build wooden boats, not using power tools. There was no noise to it. It was just him using hand tools, sandpaper, patience. Obviously, his character, it had to be there for his character. But I remember sit there, I was probably 3 or 4 series in and going, I need to build a boat in the basement. No, I didn't have a basement, so I didn't have a basement, so I couldn't build a boat. But what I did start doing is building models. And this is my off switch. I had to have an off switch. So I can't show you here because I'm up in the office, but if you were downstairs in the main living area, I've got something like 20 models that I've built over the years. Everything from a 2-meter long Titanic that is, you're talking tens of thousands of intricate little bits. Millennium Falcon starship that hangs from the wall. The Spy Who Loved Me car. Everything and anything. Yeah, and I've got 12 on the go at the moment. So part of what's helped me, I think, over the years, business wise, and certainly now, is I have to have that kill switch. And that kill switch for me can't just be family, can't be football, can't be drink. And I throw myself into this world of building my model. So I thank Mark Harmon, aka Leroy Gibbs, for that.
Oh, I love that. I mean, so much to ask you there. So first of all, are all these models made of wood? And are you making them, or they're kits that you buy?
So they are kits, yeah, but they're intricate kits, and some are made of wood, some aren't. Okay. And so every month I get sent the next part of the kit, and I think I've got 3 arriving today to do a little bit more on. So yeah, and I just evenings, I take myself away for a couple of hours, weekends, and I just, make them.
Well, it's the ultimate in mindfulness, isn't it? It's like, I'm not going to, because most of us, I have to confess, I watch way too much television now. And I think it's because I'm in a new relationship and that's what we like doing together. We like just, finishing the day watching telly. And there's some great content out there, some great shows, and we will, happily sort of smash through a box set. But I am starting to realize it's probably quite a lot of hours per week. Yeah. And I'm like, I could be doing all kinds of things. And I'm not saying I'm going to build models. I don't have the patience for that. They get smashed to bits. But as a mindfulness exercise, and a healthy one as well, I mean, I think work, family, football, wine are not bad things. I mean, depends how much wine, of course.
I was going to say, depends on how much wine and whether it's all at once. I mean, trying to take a 5-year-old to Anfield with a bottle of wine isn't the right thing to do.
No, don't do all of it at the same time. No. But, I do love this idea of kind of, as you put a break on the day, put your break on your mind and have to singly focus on one thing. I can imagine that's very calming. And if you have got a busy brain, and I'm sort of blessed and cursed with that too, you do need to find a way of just bringing it back down.
And here's how I link this to my work over the years, is that I would work from 5 a.m. until 11 p.m. Now, it wouldn't necessarily be every minute of every day because I still had other responsibilities, but I would put my diary together such that if I knew those other responsibilities had to be done at, kids' tea time, I would then work on my laptop in bed from 9:30 till 11. And it wasn't healthy. It wasn't healthy. And if anything, from a business perspective, probably caused me to make more mistakes because my brain was looking for something to do with work rather than needing to do something for work.
I can relate to that. I think that in my sort of prime stress jobs back in the day, I was a CEO for a company, and the laptop was always by the bedside, and you're right, it was almost like a dopamine hit of, just check this one thing, just check this one thing, just check this one thing, and I could do 4 a.m.s and just wake up in the middle of the night and go that formula in that cell on spreadsheet number 4, and it's like you look back now and you think, what were you doing? And actually, was I working at my best? Of course not. You're stressed and you're not, you just don't have room to think or breathe. So I love that. The
other thing it taught me as well, Julia, is that, yes, it's helping me switch off. I'm creating something because it feels good, but I'm not doing it because there's an audience or I'm going to get paid for it or I'm going to get an applause for it. It's for me. Yeah.
Well, I'll applaud you anyway. That's quite impressive.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there.
And I thank you for the NCIS. They had no idea about that. But anyway, I love the idea of him building a boat in his basement. Did he ever get it out?
No, we didn't. And that's it's one of it was one of. Well, here's the thing though. It seems like he was making, because obviously each series has they've got to tidy up the set. Most series there was a new boat he was working on, and you could spot the differences. And the question I think always stood: how did he get the boat out every time, and where are the bloody boats?
Yeah, where to see him sailing anything?
But I'm not sure you're meant to overthink that.
Okay, well so there you go. That's where our brains go again. You see, Matt.
Yeah,
we need to shush.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Happy to go to number 3. Are we done with the Leroy Gibbs? Was that right?
Yes. Leroy Jeffrey Gibbs. Yeah. The character.
I love that.
So number three, I'm going to talk about, I said to you earlier, trying to think of people I've worked with was difficult. Not because I would want to talk ill of them, but because there's so much people can teach you positively, but then eventually you'll see the negative side of it. But there was one person who I didn't get to see any negative side to because I'm 3 wonderful years at the beginning of my career. And there was a chap called Simon Harrington, who was my first ever boss. Simon, now we've got to put this into some context. This is the 1990s, so nobody's perfect. Yeah. But and so I would never say that Simon or anybody at that time was somebody who I would follow literally to the end of the road and back. Yeah. But there were when I was reflecting over who these 5 people were, things pop into my head, phrases that I've used over the years, and most of those phrases have come from him. And there was one in particular. I remember going back to my first quarter. I had just done this really good deal to fill a load of credit controller jobs. And I think I was due a £3,000 bonus, which back then,
a lot of money.
I mean, wow. Yeah. And I turned around to Simon, I had a student loan, and I said, Simon, so are you serious? I get £3,000? And he goes, yeah. So I said, oh, crikey. He goes, what are you going to do with this? So I said, I'm going to pay off my student loan. He goes, right, come and stay here. So we sat down over because we had a sausage, chip, and gravy dinner every day. I put on a bit of weight back in those days. And he goes, don't do that. What I want you to do, where do you want to go on holiday? I said, I want to go to New York. He goes, right, book New York, book business class, or first class as it was back then, take your other half and go and enjoy yourself. And if you turn around to me in 6 months and say, that was a mistake and I wish I'd have kept the money, I will pay you that bonus again.
Amazing.
And so I did it. Yeah. And I mean, I had a whale of a time there, but it taught me something that perhaps has stuck with me for the majority of my career. You've got to be hungry. There's got to be a reason. Now, back then it was, I need to earn that money again. There's still an element to that. I've gone from rags to riches, back to rags, and building myself back up again. That has created a hunger in me again, going back to those days, almost 30 years ago, where I want to enjoy my life again. I don't want to be rich. What I want to do is be wealthy enough to have the enjoyment I want to have. And so that's made me hungry, but it takes me back to that day when he said that. Another thing he said to me, because I recall these are back in the days, Julia, in recruitment where you didn't have computers. My filing system was a Rolodex of some kind. And I think I felt great because it was in Wall Street. They had a Rolodex, but no, this was a Rolodex, and I hadn't filled in the papers well enough. But I've got a photographic memory, so I don't forget stuff. And Simon came up to me and he goes, why have you not filled it in? You've just given a rollicking to the 5 staff because they've not filled in the daily form properly. And I said, well, man, I don't need to. I'm the boss and I remember it. He goes, you remember these words, yeah? You never get somebody to do what you're not willing to do yourself. And again, it's stuck with me for 25 years now. So Simon, I think from the perspective of when I needed molding, when I needed to hear some home truths, when I needed to be given some incentive, those words stuck with me for the last 25 years.
Yeah. And it's funny, isn't it, that one experience is worth more than the New York memory, actually. It's the impact of that message for the rest of your life. So no, I can see why he's on your list. And I agree with that. I think, there is so much, it's that classic again, you save up and then everyone retires, don't they, at a certain age, and then you hear it all the time. And then, within a year they were dead and you're like, oh,
yes. Yeah.
And they forgot to live the first 60 years. So, no, I'm a little bit like you in that way. To me, travel is a priority. Living my life today is a priority. I've seen enough loss to know that nothing's promised. No future is promised. And I understand this thing about a kind of little bit of self-imposed pressure. It reminded me of one of my first bosses who said, who ran this very sort of almost like a trader-like business. It was a distribution business where high turnover, low margin, kind of high pressure thing. And I asked him how he motivates himself. And he said, well, I max out all my credit cards and then that makes me have to work really hard to pay them back.
Yes.
So it's the same sort of principle. I've never done that, but I do understand it. It's like creating a bit of self-imposed pressure that just keeps you hungry, keeps you motivated. I get that.
And it doesn't have to be about the money, Julia. It doesn't have to be about money, but what it has created is, maybe this is just my personality and the way my brain works. It's the trigger. Yeah, I need to have a trigger. I've had to have a trigger over all of these years. Now, often it's been about money. Often it's been, the reason I gone to Oxford, by the way, is not because I was the smartest kid in school, but because my German teacher turned around to me and said, typical German with a Manchester accent, not from Germany, turned around to me, she goes, Matt, you won't get into Oxford. I think you should stop trying to. You're just not good enough. And I made a decision there and then, right, I'll have you show you. I'll have you, yeah. And I took a few days off, more than I should do, poorly at home studying. And I got into Oxford. It's a proving point.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get the idea of trigger, the trigger being the pressure that creates the hunger, that creates the action. I do get that. And I suppose the sort of other message of don't ask of others what you would not do for yourself, or not would do yourself. I think that's a good way to be as well. I think so many of us, especially in leadership, I mean, you make me feel a bit guilty. There's one thing I won't do that I get my team to do, and I'm now going to have to reevaluate it. Shall I confess it? I don't know if I should.
Yes.
Okay.
Go for it.
Damn. I really hate CRM systems. You say about, I'm not going to say the names of the CRM systems.
Yeah.
But I'm the Rolodex generation, and anyone listening here under a certain age, and I have a really young audience, Matt, which is really surprising. But it's a Rolodex for my young audience was literally pieces of paper clipped into, or pieces of card clipped into a roly thing that you could just flick through.
Oh, sorry, yeah, that was this. Yeah. Sorry, that's what I had. It wasn't about it. Yeah.
Nobody knows what a Rolodex is except you and me.
No.
So it was basically cards that you could just put names and stuff and detail on. And the modern version of that are CRM systems, right? But I'm a bit like you. Everything I need to know is in my brain.
Yes.
And I find those kind of things a little bit cumbersome and very intimidating. And I'm very conscious that I might delete the whole thing.
But here's the issue. The CRM. This is why I've started this business, my team up, because I agree with you. CRM systems are nothing more than a depository for data, and not even valuable data a lot of the time, because it's seen as the more you have on there, it's quality. It doesn't mean it's quality. Yeah. And so what I'm repositioning is only data that is valuable.
That matters. Yeah.
That matters. Yeah. And that's where I think there is that disconnect between the brain and what's on the screen a lot of the time, which actually becomes more frustrating for the user. So I totally get it. I'm not a big believer either in CRMs in the traditional way.
It looks like spaghetti to me, to my brain. It looks like data spaghetti. Yeah. So, okay. Well, I love the sound of Simon. I think I think first bosses do have such an impact, don't they? And so he had a huge one on you. So, all right, brilliant. Should we go on to number 4?
Number 4 is a bit of a curveball. Number 4 is actually an entity, which is the band Chicago.
All right.
Do you know them?
I know the band. I'm trying to think. What's their hit?
If you leave me now, you take it away. Or hard to have it to break. Hard to say. That's it. Yeah, that's the one. Now, there is a reason. Sorry, there is a reason for this. Yeah. I was thinking about this because it's become a passion of mine over the last, 30, maybe longer years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Young lad, picture this. I was probably maybe 7 or 8, and I was sat in the garden, and hang on, how old would I have been? No, maybe I was about 15, 16. And I was squeezing a bumblebee, thinking that was quite a cool thing to do, apparently, yeah? Stung myself. And in between me nursing my hand and swearing like, a child shouldn't do, I heard the song Glory of Love by Peter Cetera.
Okay.
Come on the radio. And this was like the soaring ballad. It was actually the theme tune to my wedding as well. And I remember asking my dad, who is that? And he goes, it's the band Chicago. From that moment, well, it wasn't Chicago, it was the lead singer who left, but it's not the point. From that moment, I not listened to any other music than Chicago. I There's a reason for this, by the way. I've been to see them in Memphis, Vegas, Nashville, New York, Tallahassee, even, where I think the only other person who went to Tallahassee was Ted Bundy. I mean, it is a very odd place to go to. Been to see them in Paris 25 years ago, when I think I was one of the only able-bodied people in the audience, because the fans they've accumulated over the years, because they've been going for 60 years, and not at that point, my age group. But there's a reason for it, yeah? So what I love about them is that they've been touring for 6 decades now. They've had God knows how many lineup changes, but they've never lost that sound. They've never lost that soul, that heart, which is, they've had to adapt because new band members have come in, but it's the horns, it's the melodies, the harmonies, the songs. Yesterday I was watching a TV and there was an advert came on for an electric car that happens to be a Chicago song from the 80s as the backdrop. So I've just got this thing where they stick to their sound, stick to their values, stick to their craft, adapt where they need to. And it's been the sound, fact of my life, basically.
Oh, what a great soundtrack. Okay, so I do get it. That I'm sensing with you, Matt, that when you really like something, you really like it. And,
yes,
you get really behind
Obsessive, maybe.
I wasn't going to say that. But I mean, Chicago, you're right. Big anthemic songs, big, full sound. But back to Peter Cetera, I don't think there's a voice like it. I think there's he had such the resonance in his voice. It has almost like a cry to it every when he was singing, and it's so uniquely him. Anybody listening that doesn't know who Chicago is or Peter Cetera, please go and check them out. But it's like, well, I know you say lineup changes. When you lose your lead singer who has such an iconic voice, and you have to keep replacing that is not an easy thing to do.
But replacing with people who would sing, because the songs that he sang for Chicago were made his voice, basically. But what I love about them, how old do you think they are now, Julia? Take a guess.
Chicago.
The founding members. So the founding members are in their 80s.
Say, are they? I wouldn't have thought that.
80s.
Okay,
They've been touring for 58 years, singing the same songs. Yeah. And look, this is not by me plugging Chicago, but they're the fourth biggest band in history in the US. They don't need plugging. This is about the fact that, these are a group of people, as a group, who have changed, course, but they've stuck to the sound. They've stuck to their love of music. And frankly, they've done it without having to keep up with modern times. They couldn't care less about streaming, I would have thought. Yeah. They're not going to become a digital band just because more people might listen. They're playing to the audience that have been loyal to them for almost 60 years. And there's something quite mesmeric for me in the sense that going that long, touring that often, traveling all across the US, not going to great big arenas, but going to, the 12,000 seater, concert halls, and have stuck to what got them there in the first place, which resonates with me a lot from a career perspective.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a parallel there. And there's a couple of themes that are starting to sort of shape with we're going to get onto the fifth one in a minute, but there's some themes starting to come through here. And obviously loyalty and sticking to the course and staying true and all those kind of things. Obviously, things that really resonate with you. And there's something about the sort of commitment element there. And also it's so rare for a band to stay together. I mean, most bands don't stay together beyond the first year or so. I've been in bands, and there's always some kind of difference and there's always some kind of breakup. But to sort of stay the course that long shows that there's genuine love and connection with these guys, and a commitment to their music, a commitment to their craft and to their audience. If their audience is still showing up, they'll show up even in their 80s. And I love that.
So I meet them every time I go to see them. So I say the last time I saw them was in Nashville last year. And I always meet the band beforehand. So myself and Bobby, my wife, when we first met them, first time she met them was in Vegas. And we rocked up, and I think they might get a restraining order out against me at some point, because they call me, I'm known as Mr. UK. Pop up twice a year somewhere to see them in concert. Always rock up with Bobby, and there's the usual look of an octogenarian male band member looking at my 35-year-old 5'11" blonde wife and going, "Yeah, come for a photo, guys, come for a photo." But it's
bring him as well if you have to.
Bring that's him into the photo. There's always they always give us time, and it's just such quality people.
Oh, I love that. And no, I don't think a restraining order is necessary. They're probably very flattered and very pleased to see you. So I can imagine that scene. Oh, wonderful. Okay, well, here's to Chicago. Long may they continue. I'm sure. A bit like Trigger's broom, though, isn't it? Do you know the Trigger's broom thing? There are still some original parts.
Yes.
Yeah. And then again, all the young people are going, "What does she mean? Trigger's broom? Look it up."
Look it up. Yeah.
It's all right, brilliant. So we move on to the finale then, number 5.
Yes. And I think I was looking at a number of your podcasts, and rightly so, people are talking about people that met their professional career. But, we are, as we said in this podcast, we are people, and people need to be around other people who make them better. So I am going to finish, partly out of, love and inspiration, but also out of self-preservation. I'm going to say my wife. And there's some very good reasons. Very good reasons for it. Yep. She's just remarkable individual. A kind of that perfect balance between structure and fear, I might put it. But basically, I know where I stand with her. Yeah. And if I don't, she will tell me. But here's what I love about her. So she has this innate ability, almost NASA-style ability, that works for me to organize, plan, and execute. That's me in a nutshell. Yeah. But she's also allowed me to run free with my own obsession. So we coexist perfectly. She builds the structure, both kind of familiarly, professionally, and I then spend hours color coding it and bringing it to life. She's professionally, she's in recruitment as well. And what our industry is like, Julia. There's a lot of people who will look at, I hate to say it, because it's still misogynistic in a lot of parts, will look at a tall, youngish, blonde and go, well, we know why that person's in recruitment. I've seen this enough over the years to realize that hasn't gone away. But she's brilliant, yeah. She's shown me through her. What dog have you got?
Oh, ignore her.
What is she?
She's just, she's Maggie, and she does what she wants, and she's on every podcast. And brilliant. I don't even listen to her anymore. I used to let her in, and now I just ignore her. So if you can tune her out.
No, sorry. I have done. It's only because I've got 6 downstairs, so I know the feeling. Yeah.
She's only this big. How much noise does she make? She's tiny.
Oh, bless her. So as I say, yeah. So it's this perfectionism that she's got that takes through into her recruitment professional career, and I've seen her take one of her clients on a journey from trust me to entire trust. Yeah. But that's not through being a salesperson. It's through planning, executing, building structure, doing what she said, providing that constant support. And it's helped me recalibrate. This is not me trying to run at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I can run fast, but run with structure. And she's brought that to me. I've, without going too much detail, I've been through a lot of chaos the last 5 years. She's been with me during that period, taking me through build a structure to help me get out of the back of it. I don't think, admittedly, she doesn't let me out the basement more than once a month. And even as she's to have a cheese sandwich, but she does allow me to take the model kits down there. No, I'm joking. She's just been absolutely the funniest, fiercest, and most frighteningly capable person I know, and has more than anything and anybody, I think, probably inspired me to get back to where I wanted to be.
Amazing. And how long have you been together? How long have you been married?
We've been married for we've got 5 minutes, haven't we? We got married in Vegas to Chicago in 2023.
Newlyweds.
Elvis married us, and then we were with the band the following day for their concert at the Venetian. So,
how fun!
I proposed to Bobby after 24 hours
of meeting.
Oh yeah, no, because I've met her before, but when I realised, actually, she might like me. And she does like me, and I proposed.
Oh, that's very brave. I hope she said yes straight away.
Well, I think she thought it might have been a joke to start off with, but when I'd taken that as a literal yes in my brain, I then planned the whole official, proposal, which came some months later. And then we got married in Italy. Fascinating, of the 62 people who came to our wedding, there's probably only about 12 still talk to. And I think, again, it's a lot of the last 3 years, Bobby's helped me understand, not because we've forced ourselves away from these people, but actually people just aren't particularly nice when under pressure. And she's helped me understand I don't need to be liked by everybody. I need to be liked by those people who are worth being liked by.
Well, do you know what? I think there's implicit and explicit when that happens. I think when you meet the right person and they make you feel, secure and sure about who you are, I think you start just shedding people anyway.
Yeah.
Because I think I've been accused of being a bit of a collector. And I'm not accused. That's a bit strong. I have been a bit of a collector of people. All my life I've collected and collected. And I find as I'm getting older, I'm having less and less range of people in my life. And I've really centered in on the ones that I really, really love and cherish. And I think that's a little bit of maturing on my side, but I think it's also, I have a similar relationship with my new partner. And it's that solidity that she gives me, that sense of absolute knowing and confidence in who I am, such that I kind of need less people in my life. And and also my antenna is much more up on who are the ones that bring me joy and those that take my energy. So I can totally see how that would happen, particularly if you've gone through something. And that's, as you say, under pressure is when you really know who your friends are. So I totally get that. And I love the idea of her building that structure for which you can sort of express yourself within. That, again, that's a safety net, isn't it? It's like I'm going to build this structure so you feel safe in this space, Matt. Go be Matt in this space. I've got you. Yeah. I've got you, and you are safe with me. And that's what came across to me anyway.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Good. Oh, well, you're such a romantic, aren't you? I'm going to marry you one day. And then I did.
And then I did, to Elvis, and then Chicago. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad she's a fan of Chicago. Otherwise, it would never work.
Oh, she is now. I don't think she has a choice. I say I don't listen to anything else. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, she sounds fab.
Yeah.
Okay. We've done the 5. I said to you, this next phase of the podcast, I always like to do a bit of a reflection on the key themes that have come through from those 5 that we can now zone in on and say, what are these things specifically that are now embodied in you? So I asked this question in various different ways, depending on how the mood takes me. But it's always the same thing in some ways, which is there will be things looking through these 5 that you can now recognize specifically in your own behaviors. So, I'm going to take a stab at it first. Obviously we've talked about loyalty, staying the course, duty, service, doing the right thing, being a person of great sort of substance and reliability. So these are, to me, this shines through with all of this. But at the same time, there's a side I'm sensing. There's a side of you that's very playful and quite abstract, really, outside of that. So within it, but outside of that, there's a different side to you which says, I love to make Titanics, and I love the band Chicago, and I love just following, where my heart takes me. So now we've spoken, is there anything that's kind of leaping out to you that says, of these 5, these are the key themes that I recognize in myself?
I think you summed it up perfectly there. Yeah. So I like to express myself, and whether that's through being passionate or being obsessed about something in a positive way. And I am. I have an addictive personality. I don't need somebody to diagnose that's been with me since I was a young kid. Often in very positive ways, sometimes in negative ways. But what these 5 people do is it's almost like a bit of a wake-up call, which is you don't have to please everybody.
Yeah.
You don't have to make everybody think you're amazing. You don't have to have everybody rely on you. What you can do is not purposely go out of your way to hurt people, destroy people, But actually, there's how many billions of people on this world we have to look after ourselves as well. And I think that's what I've learned over the last 5 years. Now, admittedly, Chicago being there for 25 years, but my passion for going to see them, actually allowing my passion to be enjoyed rather than worry family members are going to go, why are you traveling over to the US to watch them in concert? I've been able to let myself become a bit freer. At the same time, structure, because, if you look at Andy, look at the band, you don't become a successful band by not having structure. You've got to get from A to B to Y to Z. My wife and her structure, Andy with I will be that person to look after my mother. That has something that's shone through there as well. So it's almost like this perfect balance between allowing myself to be free thinking, and at the same time structured for execution.
Well, I'm glad I kind of picked up on all of that, because that did sort of shine through to me anyway. This idea about pleasing others and in trying to impress others, it is a fool's errand in the end. It really is, because there's that, I don't know, there's that famous, I can never get it right, but it's something about how little people really do think about you. When you think, and if you're a kind of obsessive character, and I think I'm a little bit like this, I can really worry about how people have, received me, or, and I'm a pathologically polite person. So if I've even not opened the door quick enough, I can worry about things like that. So, well, go on. Sorry.
I was going to say that I'd let you into this. So when things have gone pretty horribly wrong in a number of areas over the last 5 years, the people who had been around me the longest, I include family in this as well, have all done very well financially, have all done very well, been taken on nice holidays, all done extremely well on, inviting everybody around to the house so they could be part of something. Yeah. Investors making best part of £9 million from my hard work over the years, hundreds of employees that I had, not a single person when things went badly wrong are you okay, Matt? It was, is this going to stop now? Am I going to stop getting all the things not quite as blatant as that, but how are you going to, but that's what it felt like. And it was Andy, and I won't go into personal detail, but one particular incident happened about 4 or 5 months ago now. And whilst he was 48 hours from dying, his first, often making the joke about being a doctor, his first point to me was, how is she? Yeah. And it was just, this wasn't a guy who he knew he was 48 hours from passing away, was more interested in how are you? How is she? How are they? Yeah. So people have it in them. It's just, unfortunately, perhaps I've surrounded myself with people who don't want to demonstrate that kind of empathy and behavior.
Yeah. And when you do get somebody that is in your boat when you need them, they are treasures. They really are.
Yes.
Because I said to my someone quite recently, I said, you never throw love in the bin, because real love, like proper love, wherever that is, a colleague, a friend, a family member, a partner, it's such a rare commodity. Somebody who actually stays with you regardless of what's happening in your life. That's such a rare thing. So yes, unfortunately, we are certainly important to each other. I would never do this podcast if I didn't believe in the value of people, obviously. But I also believe in showing gratitude and honouring those that really do have a positive impact, because they're so rare, because they're so precious, and because there's very little room in your day or anywhere in your life apart from their eulogy where you can actually say it.
Yes.
So it's partly why I did this, which is, I want to create a space where people like Andy and Bobby can be spoken about. And this will always, go back to digital imprint. This will always exist as long as the servers don't get shut down by our robot overlords.
AI friends. Yeah.
This will exist, and you can refer back to it. You can share it. You can listen to it yourself privately someday. It'll exist, and I think that's a really positive thing, to be spoken well of, and create an environment where people can speak well of others. To me, this is the thing I love most.
Seek it out, but not having to seek it out. And I think that's the learning I've had. I don't need it. Yeah, I'd like it, because I'd like it to be part of a relationship whereby people appreciate me because I'm doing something good. It could be business, whatever, professional, personal, but you don't need to seek it out, because those who come rushing to give it to you are often the ones who don't have it in them to keep it that way.
Well, I have an opinion on this, which is, if you seek it out, it isn't real anyway, and everybody knows it. So, it's sort of self-defeating. I think, again, if I reflect on the people closest to me, they love me anyway. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to.
But Julia, I worry about the younger generation, because, as you point out at the beginning, everybody's on digital platforms. Yeah. And I think it's almost creating this, it's going to bypass learning for yourself, because you're almost immediately in a world of, I am being seen, I can see others, I want to do that. This is the fear I have, that there'll be generations to come that actually will almost, without intention, they'll fall into the trap, but on much larger scale. So I guess if there's one thing that I've learned is, don't seek it out, be yourself, be real. And if people don't like it, then it is what it is.
Well, just you can obviously respond, but my final word on AI is, the more we tap into, the power of it, the more as human beings we will seek the realness of each other. Because we know that everything else can be delivered through the machines. So what do we want? What will we crave more than anything? Real connection, real love, real conversation, real experiences, things that move us. And nothing moves us more than what moves us. A sunset, animals, humans, real things that you can sort of experience and touch. So hopefully
I could not have put that any better.
Oh, good.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Well, listen, there is a couple of other questions. One is, I always ask my guests, okay, you've had all this wonderful investment from influencers and people actually in your life who've given you some support and wisdom. How do you think you're going to take all this forward from here on? Is there anything specific as a way of being that we've talked about some of your values, but is there something in this next phase of life that you are determined to do that either honors this investment, or just something that you hold dear and you are going to do this in the next whatever period that might be?
Yes, I'm not sure it's necessarily. I'm assuming from the framing of the question, actually, it might not be the right answer, but I'm going to stop in 5 years, Julia. Yeah, but I'm going to genuinely do that, because I've a bit like you said, I don't want to carry on, destroying what's left of me, but regrowing it now by carrying on trying to be something else. And 5 years, but in those 5 years, I'm going to have fundamentally changed the recruitment industry, because it's an industry that I love. It's an industry that I've been brought up in. I just feel that it is often run by greedy investors who have one thing in mind, which is immediate return on investment, which means they won't consider that actually transformation is key, because transformation costs money. And people think in our industry that size matters. It doesn't. Genuinely, you can do a better job with half the people. Now, what I'm not advocating is AI is going to cause everyone to lose their jobs. No, it will just make people more effective. And I think if I can do that with, as I've got in my plan, 50 businesses who are able to talk to each other, collaborate, because their processes have got harmony, their processes are efficient, and it still allows for people to shine. That's what I want out of the business I put together now. So I won't be done in 5 years. In 5 years, yeah.
Yeah, it's a worthy cause, and refreshing to hear that it's a pursuit rather than a growth thing. I'm sort of mindful of this space, because somebody said to me recently, what would you do if you had a windfall, if you had millions of pounds and you could do something with it? And I mean, the first word comes to me always, which is enabling. I love to enable things. And I as soon as I started getting into the detail of it, I thought, oh yeah, but then there's going to have to be all these growth expectations and profit expectations. But I thought, no, if I had loads of money, I probably would take that away and just say, create something meaningful, create something beautiful, create something that's going to further, I'm very idealistic, as you can tell, that's going to further humanity. and it's such a shame that we always have to have the growth bit, because it's a bad incentive.
Is it growth or is it money?
I mean money. I mean growth in money.
Yeah,
It's like it's such a bad incentive in some ways because it leads people to make different decisions.
Yeah.
I understand the economics of it. I understand why it's there, but it's a shame because
so the reason the economic dictates it is because typically investors know that 1 in 5 succeeds. Well, actually, should we not focus that time and money on making sure 5 out of 5 succeeds?
Yeah.
Rather than hoping 1 in 5 succeed and sod the other 4. And I think that's the problem that I've seen over the years is that it's purely a numbers game. They're the ones who are going to be in trouble the next generation, I think, is AI will make it easier to predict. Yeah. And then it will come down to, I don't need your money. I don't need investment because I don't want to be the 20% success metric. I want 100% success metric.
I am hopeful. I am somebody who embraces technology, and I am hopeful that so much of this new technology that is man-made, mankind made it, but it will take us into a whole different way of being. And I have to trust that it's going to be for the better, in all ways. So listen, I'm really I like that plan. I think you should do that, Matt. Why don't we plug your business right now then? Because it's called My Team AI, isn't it? My Team AI. Do you want to talk about that?
It's not really. No.
All right, then let's not.
No. Not. I mean, thank you anyway. But I will say it's my team. So my TEAIM. So my team, but with AI in the middle.
Oh, do you know what? I think I must be mildly dyslexic because I did struggle with it.
I think if I had my time again, I might slightly change the spelling of it, but it looked good on paper. No, I'm not going to actually, Julia. I think this has been a breath of fresh air for me to not come on and just talk. And going back to what I suppose some of the points we're making is that it's not about me, my ego for the business, and
this is for you. It's for the people.
It's exactly right. Yeah.
All right, good. Well, I'll edit that out then. No, I won't because I can't be bothered. I see most of my podcasts. This is true. I don't edit at all because I just think, it doesn't matter. Dog's barking. Amazon's turned up. Doesn't really matter. It's normal.
It's
normal life.
It's real life. Right. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, listen, I don't know if I'm going to spring this on you if you've thought about it, but I always ask my guests at the end because I love meeting new people I never would meet normally. Is who should I speak to next and why?
Oh.
You've forgotten, haven't you?
Yes, I have forgotten. There is somebody who I just think is an incredible human being. His name is Jat, J-A-T, Kara, K-A-R-A. He is an incredible, he's an investor. He looks after investments, funds. He's a chap I met probably about 6-7 years ago. He's the only person who makes me look average with my clothing. Because I like colours. Yeah, you can't see it today, but I typically wear bright clothes. Okay. And we met up in Claridge's in London, and he was wearing the brightest pink suit. He's just brilliant. I see him in London once every couple of weeks. He is so astute, so clever, but he's one of the most genuine people in basically a world of family offices that can be fitty, ferocious, and brutal. Yeah. He is a shining light. He's just lovely. I think if you could get him, he would be absolutely.
How do I get to him? He's got a great name.
I'll speak to Jess. Yeah,
you sort him out.
Okay. I'll sort him out. Yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, I love that. I seem to be meeting quite a lot of people. I've done a few of these now, and I've met 2 or 3 people now in the sort of investment space. Real characters, people who've made me really think differently about investment and money. And so he'll be right up my street.
He's just brilliant. He's an amazing guy.
People like that. Okay, so Jat Kara, I look forward to meeting him.
Yeah.
And tell him to wear pink.
I will tell him to wear pink.
It's essential. It's mandatory. Listen, Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
I knew we would go into all different directions. Obviously, we met prior to talking today. And I feel like we've covered a lot of ground, and I've really gotten to know you, and I think people listening here would feel the same. So thank you for being.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Jude. I've loved it.
Yeah, likewise. Well, all the best with the next 5 years. Keep me posted. I will be following you because as I say, I'm fascinated by this subject. So thank you very much for today. Take care.
That was all. Thanks, Julia.
Matt Burton there. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. I told you we went deep. Loads of subjects. I particularly like the bit about AI and how we're going to use it to optimize ourselves rather than replace ourselves. I think that's something that I'm very preoccupied with as a thought at the moment. Anyway, well, what do we have next week? Oh gosh, next week we have Bill Zeeb. I can't wait to share this one with you. As well as having a very cool name, Bill Zeeb. That says quite a lot about who he is. This guy starts most mornings, whether it's sunshine or otherwise, skiing. I'm not even joking. Every day, pretty much, he goes skiing, even if it's in the complete darkness. So he has a wonderful way of looking at life. He has many challenges that he continues to deal with, but always with an absolute smile on his face and a positive outlook that you're going to find so infectious. So I'm really looking forward to introducing you to him next week. But in the meantime, have a good week ahead, and I'll see you then. All right, see ya. Bye-bye.